that have been the same in my teaching career. There's always something different, and that's what makes my teaching career exciting, and I hope you think the same. Thank you. Without further ado, I would like to present Ms. Fawn Nguyen from Mesa Union Junior High.
My name is Fawn Nguyen, and I teach math at Mesa Union Junior High in Seoul, about 300 miles south of here. And I drove up this morning. It took about 5 hours. I was thinking, I could have flown, but I think it would have been faster just doing it this way, because driving to LAX and then taking a flight from there, I don't want to do that. I did my student teaching in the spring semester of 1988. No, you were not born yet.
I was.
I had a lot of questions, not so much about the teaching craft itself, but more about how to survive teaching. And because I already gave up on applying to med school, so I needed to get this teaching certificate in order to prove to my family that I was not completely a failure. After I finished my student teaching, the same school offered me a full-time science position, and because I had a BS in biology. My questions during this time revolved around trying to make the textbook, how to make the textbook come alive, how to make it so that it's more comprehensible to my students. And I had to use a lot of my own money, which I didn't have much to begin with, in order to make the science labs happen. I had to make it a lot of hands-on. And whatever money I had, this is what I spent my leftover money on. Then I moved to California, and the summer right before I moved, I took a math course, a math practice course, and it was just for fun. But then that was when I discovered that I didn't know a whole lot of math prior to this class. I mean, this was an eye-opener, and I realized that I was never challenged in school mathematics. And it took this course. It was transforming, because I learned to appreciate struggle. I learned to appreciate just being frustrated, and so I ended up loving the class. So when I moved to California, instead of applying, continue with my science, I applied to teach for math positions. And I was loving math for all the wrong reasons, and that was what was wrong. So it was my mission, or I made sure that I will teach math in a way that would undo what was done to me. I'd like to share with you a dialogue I had with a student. And so what is half of 30? 20? That question mark behind the 20 is exactly how she sounded. She was just unsure. And I think this is true with a lot of our struggling math learners. They give us an answer, and then they hope they get lucky. Well, what do you do when someone gives you the wrong answer? You ask the damn question again. And then you say it loud and just sound right. That's exactly what I did. Now try again. What is half of 30? 10? So I ran out of ways to ask for half of 30. So I said, no, what is 30 divided by 2? No answer. What is half of 20? 10? Yes. What is half of 10? 5. Yes. Even when she's correct, She still sounds unsure. Those question marks are still hanging around after those answers. And somehow I figured that I tried. Okay, so put the two together, but no, there was still no answer. When I shared this with a friend, he said it might be because we don't have a $30 bill. I don't know, maybe. I didn't think of that. So my question is, what grade is the student in?
No, 8.
Is a 7th grader. You probably know I'm a middle school teacher, so this is a 7th grader. So my main question for my teaching practice right now is, how do I help my students who are 2 or more grades behind? I have one period in my schedule where I'm supporting my colleague Brianna with her 7th grade class. Together we identify 7 students who are struggling a lot in her class. And whenever Brianna has her students working out of the textbook, I pull these 7 students into my classroom to work with them. So my question to you is this: how would you do this? How would you help these 7 students shore up their skills? Please take a minute to chat with a neighbor.
They're playing to you, but they're not showing everybody.
People are talking, but I won't talk into the camera for you because that would be awkward. Kind of like I'm doing now. All right.
There were 16 items on an integer operations in the last chapter test that they took. And this is how they scored, the 7 students. Like I said, it's 16 items.
Wow.
And just to give you an idea, these were the 16 items.
And there was a kid that got 6%.
4 out of 7 kids wrote this down on this blank. Want to take a guess what they wrote?
Yeah.
-0. 4 out of the 7. And they could have, copied each other. They said, in their regular class, they sat far apart enough. So when you see -0, this is why we should have a happy hour right at on campus. All 7 kids missed this multiple choice question. And I don't know about you, but we have to write multiple choice in here. Otherwise, they can answer each one of these. Or the one way around.
I'm sure there's still some kids that need to.
Now, because I teach all of the 6th graders at my school, it's a small school, so there's 2 sections of 6th graders. Because I taught all the 6th graders, these 7th graders were my students. So honestly, it was a bit crushing to discover that just because I had taught it doesn't mean they'd learned it. I needed to do something different, and that was to allow kids to talk with each other. I mean, I always do. I mean, I think I'm pretty good about letting kids talk, but it was still not enough. So that's something I wanted to try. And what I mean a lot, it's 70% of the time. They're talking, sharing, and arguing about how they understand the mathematics. I'm mostly just listening in and asking questions to further their thinking. And even when they have a question for me, I would respond by asking another student to weigh in. I have a short 1-minute video to share with you. Two students talking during their group. Just a short 1 minute.
The question I got wrong. The question
It's
was
-0.
blank plus 4 equals -15, and what I got for that blank was 11 or -11. So what I did to get -11 was I did 4 minus 15, and I got 11. But I knew that since this is a negative and this is a positive, that this must be a negative, so I put a negative sign in front of that 11, and I got
Close.
What do you mean by owed?
You missed some of it, and it's all fantastic. After working with them for about 4 to 5 sessions of pull-outs like this, and again, I only pull the kids out when Brianna worked specifically in the textbook. I gave them a similar 16-item question on integer operations, and this is how they scored. I'm awesome. I have to tell you that the 2 kids at the bottom who scored 88%, they talked the most during group times. They just wouldn't stop talking, and I want to one directly correlates to the other. I think they really want to take ownership of their learning, and that was my goal. That's exactly my goal. But the real question for me is just not how to help these 7 students in a pull-out situation. The real question for me is how do I help a full class of 35 6th graders. I have 2 of these classes, 35 in one and 32 in another. It's a difficult question that challenges me in my 26 years of teaching. This question keeps me up at night, but it also inspires me to keep learning, to keep reading, to keep reaching out and connecting with educators like you for best practices. It's a question that humbles me and energizes me. It reminds me to practice what I preach, and that is, if it's not difficult, it's not worth doing. Thank you so much.
One more time, please, for all my colleagues right here. I'm so inspired and so happy to be in this job. Again, these questions about how to help students learn, love learning, applying mathematics just will occupy all of us endlessly. I wanted to share with you, though I'm not in the classroom, I wanted to share with you my question, if you'll indulge me here. The question that's energizing my work more than any other right now. And my question really crystallized in the second week of November this year, a week in which we were all trying to wrap our heads and mouths around the expression President-elect Trump. And during that week, I noticed the 3 articles that were most shared on Facebook from 3 major American media outlets. I want to share those headlines with you and see what you noticed out of them. So, from the Washington Post, there was a headline about the Trump University settlement of the fraud case there. In the New York Times, the most popular, most shared on Facebook article was about racist enthusiasm for Donald Trump's victory. And then in ABC News was the announcement that President Obama was going to hold a revote on December 19th. And so one of these is not like the others, as you might imagine. Okay? But the really surprising, you're a savvy crowd, like you get that one of these is fake, right? But the part that was so surprising to me about this was how many times each of these was shared on Facebook. I mean, I'd ask you to guess, but I don't think you could. I'll just show you how often each one was shared. So in that number is, to me, one of the biggest questions I think we got to tackle as educators, as math educators in there. And see, the thing is, I mean, if you look at that article, that site, it's all very obviously bogus. I mean, check it out here. There's that .co at the end of abcnews.com, bogus. There's the logo on that website. Seen better days. Seen better days. There is this Executive Order 13805 that was referenced. If you go to that website, the Executive Order websites, you see no such Executive Order listed. It links to the disproving link. If you head to the author here in his bio has 14 Peabodys and too many Pulitzer Prizes to even count up. I know the problem. I have too many Pulitzer myself.
Born at an early age.
If you look at the domain registry of this website right here, if you head to the Who Is link there, you find out that this website, ABC News, venerable August organization, was registered in 2015. Bogus. And then if you head to the address on the headquarters of ABC News, you find out that it's in Kansas. Oddly enough, at the Westboro Baptist Church, really strange. If you head to the domain registry and grab that address, you find out that one is in my grandmother's lime green apartment complex in Phoenix, Arizona, not the headquarters of a major American media outlet. Continuing, look at the sources. Paul Horner, a poli-sci prof at UCLA. Head to UCLA's website. Look up Paul Horner in their faculty directory. No results. Turns out that there is a Paul Horner who is the owner of the domain, abcnews.com.co. Other sources, political analyst Matt Damon. I'm not going to embarrass us by looking it up. I'm not going to Google that one. Not going to happen. Right? And then you look at other articles on this site. Any other article, you wind up seeing that the text is all kind of gibberish. If you search for the text, you find out that it's from a 90s animated sitcom called Futurama. This is directly pulled from this animated TV show. The signs are all there, and yet 256,302 shares. It's not possible that all of those were people sharing with their friends and neighbors on Facebook saying, "Don't believe this, it's a lie." It's just not possible. People were out there sharing this in all seriousness.
Did you hear President Obama say that illegal people could vote?
Yes.
Yes.
I
Tell me, where?
you can find it, Google it.
You can find it on Facebook, she says. You can find it on Facebook. And so here's what I'm seeing is that adults can't tell the fake stuff from the real stuff. This is like people on Facebook, a lot of them adults right here. There's a study out of Stanford last week that illustrated that the students have a very hard time, that 80% of them could not tell the difference between sponsored purchase content and the real stuff, which all leads me to my question that bothers me, wakes me up, keeps me going, that brings me here, which is how do we help people believe fewer lies? And what I want to know is, what do we do about this? Do we have a role here? I don't know. I know that the civics teacher does, the government teacher does, the librarians can help students learn how to tell fake from real. I know all that. What can we do, if anything? Would you help with this right now? Take a minute, tell your neighbor, do we have a role here, if any, and what is it? What can we do? 1 minute, go for it, please. are tomorrow and the next day, so please stop me. If the answer is email me, tweet me, whatever. I need to know what we can do here. My tentative early hypothesis is that the answer lives in the intersection of the set of next generation science standards, Common Core English standards, and Common Core math standards. That there is exactly one practice that all three of those disparate sets of standards have in common. You know what it is, don't you? In the middle there, in that intersection, it's constructing arguments and critiquing other people's. I think we need to spend a lot more time, even though you were already spending lots of time on that, but helping students with this key practice of telling lies from the truth. Asking how do you know over and over and over again, and not settling for answers based on intuition or blind prejudice. This is something that we can do, I'm pretty sure. So, that was our 4 questions. These are our 4 questions here, and we're all very curious, what is your question? Do you have one? Maybe you do and haven't posed it to yourself as a question. You haven't thought of it in that way. I encourage you, please do that now, this weekend. If you don't have a question animating your work, driving you in this very challenging job, take Shira's advice, 170 sessions, each one of which has some provocative question at its core. You are at a buffet line wondering where's the food if you don't have a question. This is the place for it. Find a question. And once you do, please get awesome at problematizing your question, making your problem real to someone else. I'll tell you, this was the work that we did for months in advance of this talk. Through emails and conferences and Google Hangouts together, the work of trying to problematize, of trying to make what was real to us, your questions, real to you. It's challenging work. Math teachers have a tremendous knack at answering questions that no one has ever asked. And indeed, no one could ever wonder why anyone could ever ask it. This has been, immortalized in pop culture lots of times. Here is one of them. We have this knack, we do. And so, I'm so grateful for my colleagues here for indulging these conferences that we had and me hassling them. It was in that process that I realized this skill that I've been trying to hone my entire professional life. It's a single question, and I'll offer it to you. The goal that I have is I want to know, how do I turn a question into a story and make a student its hero? That's my goal. Again, to turn a question into a story and make the student its hero. Examples of that. For instance, in Shira's talk, she did not just start by telling you an answer, or even by telling you her question explicitly. Instead, she tried to put you in a place to feel overwhelmed, in the same way that she is, by all those questions streaming up the screen. That is work. That is the work of problematizing, trying to turn her question into a story and put you at the center of that narrative as its hero, so that you be better prepared to appreciate that question and help us come up with answers. Or take Lana, who posed, didn't just say, my question is, and here's my answer, but instead posed these before and afters, hoping to overwhelm you or put you in a place to experience what parents experience when they've had kids go through NCLB, and then all of a sudden here's this new stuff, like asking for arguments. She did that work before posing her question. Fawn also posed this dialogue. She did not just tell you, let me show you a story, or ask you a question about a student that struggles with grade level material. She gave you this dialogue and then asked you what grade the student is in, so that you would be shocked and shocked into action when you found this is a 7th grade or 6th grade student. That's the work. And in the same way, I was trying up here to not just say, hey folks, fake news, real big problem right now. Instead, to put you in a place to appreciate how insane it is that if you add up the most shared real stuff and double it, it still does not exceed the most shared fake stuff in that week. That's the work of problematizing, trying to put someone in a place to appreciate your questions. And you've got to get awesome at this. You have to. And there's lots of reasons for it. One is, if you can do it with math questions in class, turn math questions into stories and cast students as the hero, it results in a productive and interesting math class. That's a fact. But even more than that, why I'm here today, why I'm excited to be here, is because you've got to do it outside of math class. You've got to get great at this outside of math class, because there are bad actors out there. There are people out there who would love nothing more than to convince the world that the only questions you are wondering right now are questions like how many minutes until the bell, how many days until summer, how many years until retirement. They want to gut the product of education, and they will. If you do not pose a counter question to those ones, they will do it for you. you got to get awesome at this. So when someone asks you, what are you up to? What are you working on? What's your question? You don't just have an answer. You don't even just have a question to offer, that you are able to take whatever question is you're working on, one that may make no sense to that person, that family member at Thanksgiving or Christmas or wherever. But you're able to take that and problematize it and turn it into a story wherein that person listening to you is the hero of that story. That's how we get allies in this very difficult and important project of public education. That's it. So here's the thing. Get awesome at this. Problematizing. The world needs people who believe fewer lies. It needs that. And whether it knows how bad it needs good teachers to help with that is going to depend to a large degree on how well you can problematize your practice problems. So please, again, get awesome at this. I can't say it often enough, get awesome at this. The future of our profession, the lives of our kids, and a whole lot more depend on it. I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad we're all here. It's a pleasure to be here. Have a great conference, friends. Thank you.